Hey guys, it's God Bars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 88th episode of my series where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it had, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So if you've watched a decent amount of my videos, or even just the Victor Vaughn and Mad Villainy ones, you'll know it's no secret how I feel about MF Doom. While originally I was considering either Food or Take Me to Your Leader for this spot, I ended up going with Doom's 2009 release Born Like This, since I strongly believe it's the most underrated project in his entire discography. Although the Mouse and the Mask album that he put out in 2005 with Danger Mouse is a fan favorite and has a lot of highlights on it, I probably won't get around to that one for a little while since Doom has a number of projects from the 2000s that I prefer. It's LPs like Born Like This where to me you can really hear the growth and maturity from his early days with the KMD records, or even Operation Doomsday, and those are all pretty high quality, necessary pieces of hip hop in their own right. The villain himself either fully produced or mostly produced virtually every project in his discography, not to mention producing beats or even entire albums for other MCs like Ghostface Killah or Masta Ace. If you're familiar with Metal Fingers and or Ghostface, you probably know of their collaborative effort Doomstarks, which was rumored to be an official album, but obviously with Doom passing, that wasn't able to really come to fruition, so it more just refers to any time these two goats work together. Considering these guys take up two of the spots of my personal three favorite MCs, it should go without saying how big a fan I am of virtually any song that they shared. The reason I bring up Ghost is because he's one of the members of hip hop royalty that shows up on here, but he's nowhere near the only one. This is definitely one of the most stacked Doom releases in terms of featured artists and producers, and he did an amazing job of making sure they were all on the same page thematically and tone-wise. And that tone is pretty dark and grimy, even for Doom standards. Putting it up there with Victor Vaughn is one of the most villainous releases in his entire discography. He was heading into his 40s at this time, and even though his crazy album run only came a few years earlier, his voice is noticeably deeper, and this was someone who already had one of the lower vocal tones in hip-hop. While it may sound slightly different than the Doom you're familiar with, I actually think this is a good thing and served as proof that no matter how long his stretches of absence were, it was never from a lack of ideas or skill. He sounds hungry and monstrous all over Born Like This, and many of his densest and most mind-spinning verses show up on here. His verse on That's That has been covered and broken down numerous times, so I actually wanted to share a stanza from a different song, that being More Rhymin'. This track is just Doom absolutely slaughtering the beat for a minute and a half, and he gets straight to the point with more rhymin', pure diamond, Tor Hyman, poor Timon, raw linin', Paul Simon, Torin, I'm in. Boring type on snoring pipe when hyper than four hype men, excited, righted, trifling times 10. Long stay, songs played gone haywire, wrong way on the interstate, integrate all day. It's just a small phase, that's what them all say, then fall prey in a mini mall hallway. Another track with a Doom verse that always stood out to me is the Killer Posse cut that features Curious, Mabonics, Prince Paul, Paz de News of De La Soul, as well as Slug from Atmosphere. Everyone does their part on this track, but my favorite verse has to be Doom's short but memorable, keep it on click fully auto, I won't stop the rock till pockets thick and gordo, more so a risk of sounding poor bro, no tux who needs tickets to the award show. Normally cordial, more or less is more or no. Hawk spit out the cockpit, stuck to the window till it's solid as a rock hit. These guys are nowhere near the only guests on the album though. As I mentioned earlier, Ghostface makes an appearance on here, and he's actually fittingly credited under his Tony Stark's alter ego, which of course is a reference to his Iron Man persona. He isn't even the only Wu-Tang member to show up on here, as Raekwon the Chef has a dope verse towards the front end of this LP. And there's also features by Empress Star the Femc and Bumpy Knuckles aka Freddie Fox. While this is one of the few albums where Doom didn't do all the production himself, as usual he only lets the absolute best of the best into his creative circle, and it's no different here. The only producers brought in to contribute instrumentals or collaborate on them being Mr. Chop, Jake One, as well as Madlib and Jay Dilla, the latter of who had obviously passed by this time, so Doom bravely decided to pull two of the beats from Donuts, which he's really one of the only rappers who could possibly pull off. This is a pretty long project with a good number of tracks, so on one hand I get to name more honorable mentions, but on the other hand it's a bit harder to narrow down, so I'm gonna leave out some of the ones I already discussed, like That's That or More Rhymin'. That leaves the tracks I want to shout out is Yes Sir, Absolutely, Lightworks, Ballskin, Rap Ambush, Cells, Still Dope, Microwave Mayo, and Thank Ya. My three favorite tracks here would probably have to be Angels, Gazillion Ear, and Supervillains. Thank you for watching my 88th video. Next time, we're going to do a pretty heavy hitter as far as early 2000s rap albums go. So tune in for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite songs off of Doom's last solo album are. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? Alright.